rather than just being assigned to infantry or whatever, I thought it would behoove me to use the education that I had. So I actually went down and signed up for surveying. Turned out to be artillery surveying and not engineering surveying. So my next assignment was Fort Sill. Signed in and went through the artillery survey course. Did very well in it because I did have a leg up. I'd been surveying and whatnot, building bridges already. We would go out and shoot the moon, we'd shoot North Star, we'd shoot any number of stars, then do our math, give the artillery their location. They had their maps, and from that, get the coordinates of the enemy or the target. They'd take their 155s and go out and fire a shot on. I was asked if I wanted to be an assistant instructor, and I said, well, that'd be great. I'd rather do that than go to Vietnam. I had Cassie there. We were renting a little place in Lutton. Sounded good to me, and I said, okay. But I said, I don't have any stripes on my arm. I said, I can't talk to E6, E7 sergeant without one stripe at least. And he said, I'll fix that. Gave me a stripe. And I started working with them, teaching the course. I walked in one end of this building as a private first class, and I walked out the other end as a second lieutenant. Didn't know which way to salute.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Yeah, and I went from like $100 a month to $660 a month. It saved our ass because we were broke, dead broke. But we were still happy. I didn't really believe in Vietnam, didn't really want to go, but was willing to do so if that was what was required. And most of these were all ROTC, or most of them were ROTC students from college that were graduating.
To everything, turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to...
We'd stayed in a motel room for 2 or 3 days trying to find any apartment in that area. Walked up this one, it was two older ladies. And Cassie gets out of the car and she got this big belly on it and, do you have any place to rent? Oh, honey, you should be out there in the dark. And so all of a sudden we're up there and we're having tea with them. And that story was, I think we can find you a place.
Something happening here, but what it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there, telling me I got to beware. I think it's time we stop, children, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. There's battle lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds are getting so much resistance from behind. Time we stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. What a field day for the heat. 1,000 people in the street, singing songs and carrying signs, mostly say hooray for our side. It's time we stop. Hey, what's that sound?
When I got there, I was assigned the earth moving platoon, and my job then was to create that heliport, which was a big heliport. It was a big project.
Paranoia strikes deep into your life, it will creep. It starts when you're always afraid. Step out of line, the man come and take you away. We better stop.
Halfway done, or at least I was told it was about halfway done. That was before they started adding things. You know, all of a sudden, higher up said, you know, we ought to have a fixed-wing airstrip on there. So, lo and behold, we started making a fixed-wing airstrip along with the helipads. $1,600-foot strips of asphalt for this heliport. I had 2 of them done, and I was in the process of building the 3rd one. And came out there, they came out to see what was going on, and there was nothing going on. And I go up to the sergeant, I says, what the hell's going on? I said, why isn't anything getting done? He said, well, come over here, sir. So I'm gonna show you something. I walk over there, and there's green smoke, yellow smoke, red smoke coming out of the ground. I said, what the hell's going on here? He said, I don't know. He said, we're making this cut through here, and all of a sudden we start dragging out this armament. Where'd those come from? They had U.S. markings on them. He said, the only thing I can figure is that we sold this kind of thing to the French when the French were there. Well, we both agreed that wasn't real good.
No.
So I called the EOD team, and that's what this Jeep's about. A couple of E6s rolled up, and they're looking at, oh, what do you got there? I said, well, you tell me. So they go out there and they start looking at these things. Somebody went out in the jungle where this was to be an airport at some later date. Nobody knew. Just find a place out in the desert or in the jungle where you can bury this stuff.
So how much of it was there?
We don't know. The sergeants say, well, look, yeah, you've got a problem, but we don't really know what to tell you here. The battalion commander said, well, do you think we can go out here and we can drill some holes and drop some C4 or something down in there and blow this all up? Well, even I knew that probably wasn't that smart. We didn't know how big this was. He could have blown the whole battalion commander, which was not that far away. So the next thing I do, I called the batch plant. How much concrete could you batch? He said, well, anything you want, how much you want? A lot. I had him pull in there, I said, open the bowl up, about 6 inches of stuff. And he just started going through and laying that concrete down. Basically, I covered on some of
Yeah,
it.
just covered it, buried it.
Buried it and went on. With
Did explode, it wasn't going to do any damage.
Went on with the work.
Yeah.
Once a month, there was always a first sergeant in our battalion that would go to the Air Force, and they would trade things, and they would trade for fresh meat from the States. It just wasn't flown over.
Right.
And then we would trade something, like I'd send a dozer up or a grader, and they were for everybody, all ranks, and everybody had a good time. That was a typical. Captain Grant was our company commander at the 62nd, and he was a great commander. He was also a registered architect. He went on R&R, and during that time we had unbelievable rain. I could not work. So I said, well, we got this new building here, but there's no landscaping. I said, well, I'll take my guys out, and we'll dig up some banana trees. We'll come back and we'll plant all these banana trees, and he'll just be thrilled to death. When he gets back, and we had our first company meeting, and he calls out, he says, hey, he said, who did all the landscaping? And I said, yeah. I said, E-Company did that. Good, so I'd like to talk to you. I said, fine. So we go outside, and he turns around, and he's looking at it, and I'm standing beside him, and he says, you goddamn engineers, you're all alike. He says, every goddamn thing you plant is 10 foot on center and in a straight line. I'm standing, I feel like a PFC at this point, because he's giving me some pretty good lip. He said, here. And he hands me a handful of rocks. He said, pay attention to where they're landing. I said, really, what? He said, that's where I want you to move those goddamn banana trees. I got my guys out there again, we're digging these things up and putting all the banana trees out there. He said, later on he come back and said, no, doesn't that look a lot better? I said, I'll never forgot that. And
That's funny.
It was one of those moments. We set guards out every night. There would be 2 guards at each post. And on this particular night, Huey came in distress and literally crashed right behind where one of the guard posts was, just out of the sky and down. This was a gunship. It had live ammo on it. My guards came out of their post. They radioed, said they were leaving their post. It was a wreck. They came out and they got these guys and drug them out of this because it was on fire. Drug them over and got them down in the ditch, because it wasn't long after that a lot of these rounds started going off. So they basically saved their lives, and they got medals for heroism on that. It happened right there below us.
It's the time of the season when love runs high. In this time, give it to me easy and let me try with pleasured hands to take you in the sun to promised lands, to show you everyone. It's the time of the season.
I had a few browns and the rest were whites, and we got along just great. It was a fun experience. I'd never really been exposed to that kind of thing for a while. These are my two drinking buddies. Lieutenant Welch was, he was a second lieutenant from state of Washington. Lieutenant Ching was from Hawaii. Both these guys were really, really involved in building those GOQs I talked about.
Right.
Because that's what our battalion had, construction, and I had all the dirt work. I knocked down all the pads and got everything ready there, cut ditches, whatever was needed. These guys were responsible for actually putting the GOQs up. This is what Lifer's calendar. That was, not everybody made one, but most people would make some kind of a calendar not long after they'd been there. It was a countdown. Because I was running 2 shifts. I didn't have a backup lieutenant that would watch the night shift, and I took care of the day shift, or vice versa. I just scheduled my time and my sleep so that I could cover both bases. All of Vietnam knew something important was going to happen, from Da Nang all the way down to the very tip. VC had already announced they're going to hit the entire country. They didn't mince words about that. So we started trying to do things, and in this case, 2nd Field Forces, where Westmoreland was headquartered, was only about maybe 10 miles from our headquarters. And it was sitting in about 700 acres of jungle. And somebody said, well, gosh, you know, all that jungle out there, Charlie could come in and really hit this place. So I got orders to meet up with Lieutenant Black at 2nd Field Forces and take all the jungle down as quickly as possible with my dozers.
So they couldn't hide anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So I got on the line with some of the other construction battalions and asked them if they had any dozers and how many, and could they meet and rendezvous at this particular place. So I got a team of about, I think it was 10 dozers. They came in. We came in under fire, actually. And none of them had a cab on them for protection. And that's what the 11th Cav was there for. I met up with Lieutenant Black, and this was his 2nd deployment. This guy loved his job. He really did.
So when you say under fire, like ordnance exploding in the distance, or like...
No, what we were getting as we came in was small arms fire, just whizzing around and just everywhere. And a lot of the equipment was hit. But I want my guys out there, he said, not to worry. He said, we're going to recon by fire. So I asked him, what does that mean? He said, well, I'll put three units out there, and they got 50 cows, so we're just firing sweep. And you'd just be behind us, knocking down the trees. So we lit her up and started coming around for another second pass, and he gets on the horn, and he says, Charlie's not in there. And I said, well, wait a minute, what do you mean? How do you know Charlie's not? I said, there's a lot of jungle out there. He said, no, he's not here. They just stayed out on point, they'd stop firing, and we just kept knocking down trees. We knocked down all the jungle, and we never saw Charlie.
love is but a song we sing.
Well, the Bronze Star can be awarded for a number of things. Probably the majority of it was what they call meritorious service or achievement. Just something that you might have done that was above the norm, I guess you'd say. Generally, if it was for something like heroism, it went to another color, like a silver star or something. This was kind of the low end of medals, if you will. But nevertheless, it was trying to tell you that, we have been watching what you're doing, and
You're going above and beyond.
you're doing a good job, and yeah.
Some may go, he will surely pay his. When the one that left us here returns for us at last, we are but a moment's sunlight fading in the grass. Come on, people, now smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now. Come on, people, now smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try to love one another right now.
I'm out.
Decommissioned or whatever.
Yeah, and that's Cassie's probably taking a picture of my mom and dad were there too, I think, on that day.
Yeah.
She brought them up, and we all went back in my car, which was at 66 Mercury. And we were all done.
So you never really talked a lot about Vietnam when the kids were younger, right?
No,
Is that just something you just didn't feel like talking about, or just didn't think they could comprehend what had gone on?
well, when they were young, the whole thing about Vietnam was still a hot button on the newsreel every night.
Right.
The nasty American and all the riots and all the stuff that was going on. At their age, I just never felt like it was anything to really put on them, or even if they would
Yeah.
understand it.
But even as they grew into, teenagers and young adults and went out into the world and got married and all that, it seems to become much more important part of your life lately.
It has. They're all adults now. I think they're better able to understand what did happen, especially if you're watching the Ken Burns stuff. You kind of
Yeah.
have a general idea that it was not a pretty time. Americans did not look good. They've also been and have watched all of our other conflicts since they've gotten older. They've been through the Iraqs. They've been through this Afghanistan, one of the longest wars we've ever had. And can they put that together with what some of these other young men and women are doing and what they're giving up? It's only been recently when I just wanted to be them to know it was part of my life, part of Cassie's and my life.
Yeah.
We didn't brag about it. We also didn't run from it. But it's a part of my life, and I didn't want them to go away, or for me to go away, and then them have questions about it.
It's not just us working on this project or whatever. It's how you feel about it day to day, regardless. Seems to have become much more meaningful to you over the last, 3 to 5 years or so. And I think there's a little bit of curiosity why it means so much more now than it ever has.
Well, I think my age has got a lot to do with it. that some of the stuff could slip away and nobody would ever know the answers. It's the same thing I think about once in a while when I'd like to know more about my dad, his history,
Right.
and my mom. I just know that my dad and mom were in Vallejo, and he got deferred from World War II because he was working in the shipyards, and he got in charge of laying the deck plating on those battleships. And he got his notice, and he took it to his boss. And his boss looked at Dad and said, "Well, you're not going to the Army." And he said, "Well, why?" He said, "Well, because your job is more important right here building these ships than it is going out there and laying down on the beach and dying." So he took care of my dad's paperwork, and
Yeah.
that's I never heard it from Dad, really, the rest of the story. He might have had one, might have been a really good one.
Right.
But things like that.
Right.
I would suggest that all of you, all the husbands and wives that are raising families now, to write down a lot of the things that go on every day. Because some of those are the real magic times. 10 years from now, you forget to pass that on,
Right.
to your children. Those are all noteworthy parts of your life. And it's a shame to let those get away.